Because to me, Corey, I mean, this is the thing. I'm fine. If the data proves it, then let's go there and have the conversation. But the data in Australia does not show this point. There was data selectively picked from another part of the world, presented as if it's part of Australia with local examples, so people who couldn't be bothered doing anything than swallow the direct feed they were getting from the ABC would swallow the BS line. Do you think this is fake news?
I do, Paul, and what it does is it exposes how journalism has now become advocacy. It's not about reporting the news factually, it is about presenting a perspective or an opinion and couching it as news.
That was Senator Corey Bernardi in response to some biased journalism, surprise, surprise, from the ABC recently. Now, the story itself is not my focus here. Rather, it is this phenomenon that Bernardi puts his finger on, that of advocacy journalism, couching an opinion or pushing a narrative as news rather than reporting the facts. Remember our friend Eric with a Y Bagshaw, who in an article last week misrepresented statistics about the prevalence of sexual assault on Australian university campuses. Here's a much younger me from a few days ago. The Fairfax article says there were 575 sexual assault complaints. However, the original source says, quote, only 6 out of 575 reported sexual misconduct cases at Australian universities have led to student expulsion, a groundbreaking FOI investigation has revealed. The sexual misconduct was supplied by 27 universities, including sexual assault, rape, attempted rape, sexual harassment, indecent behaviour, and filming without consent occurring between 2011 and 2016. So firstly, I went through the table twice and counted numbers from 28 universities, but it doesn't make much of a difference. The real point here is that the 575 is sexual misconduct, not sexual assault. Sexual assault and rape comprise 145 incidents. But wait, there's even more. The Fairfax article stated there were only 6 expulsions, but what they didn't tell you was, quote, note that the lack of disciplinary action in a number of cases reported is due to the case being unsubstantiated or the matter being referred to police and still being under investigation. Unsubstantiated, is that a polite way of saying some accusers were, shall we say, economical with the truth? Oh, and in addition to the 6 expulsions, 12 were suspended, 12 got warnings, 8 got reprimands, 4 got severe reprimands, 6 got voluntary separations, whatever that means, 1 got training, 1 was counselled, 1 was excluded, and 1 removed from college. Now, the Fairfax article has a link to a previous article from the same author back in April. Quote, in February, universities were accused of actively covering up sexual assaults after a submission to the Commission alleged there had been just 6 expulsions in the past 5 years, despite more than 500 official complaints. Examples included students referring to an oval as rape oval, calling cask wine slut juice, and residential quarters slut alley. So there you go. Naming things made it into the 575 complaints of sexual misconduct, which the same reporter chose to call sexual assault in his latest article. Now, interestingly, that graphic that shows falsely that there were 575 reports of sexual assault over the period 2010 to 2016 has disappeared from that article. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with my tweet to Eric with a Y, asking him about why he chose to misrepresent those numbers, but I suspect not, because Eric with a Y put out another article on Sunday with the exact same graphic, and I sent him some more tweets, but alas, the graphic still remains. And so what has Eric with a Y written about this time? Well, he's done what any good advocacy journalist would do. He's embraced personal narratives, like the ones the Human Rights Commission has been soliciting as part of their report. The purpose of which, as advocacy group End Rape on Campus reveals, is to harvest quotes to fill out the emotional narrative. And like any good advocacy journalist, Eric with a Y's job is not to question those narratives, but to listen and believe. Matilda Duncan is holding up a sign. Here's what the University of Adelaide's response to my rape cost me, it says. My degree, my chance to graduate, my career, my education, my health and happiness, friends, trust, confidence, curiosity, and hope. In 2012, the 21-year-old reported to her university that she had been raped by a teacher who had become affiliated through a third-party institution. They didn't inform me of any university complaints processes I could take. They didn't inform me of any action they would be taking, and my privacy was breached when details of my circumstances were shared around the university. She said being left in the dark by university management had left her traumatised and with little choice but to drop out of her degree. I only had one semester left until graduation, she said. Allegedly raped by a staff member at another institution, Ms. Duncan says she reported her assault when he later began teaching at an education provider affiliated with the university. Oh, so she didn't report the rape until the alleged rapist got another job. I have to say that's an interesting motivation to report your rape. I thought being raped would have been enough motivation, but it was the alleged rapist taking a new job assignment that did it. I'm sure Eric with a Y asked her about that. Documents released under Freedom of Information laws shows the university immediately requested the teacher be suspended and provided counselling for Ms. Duncan, but the teacher was later reinstated by the affiliated education provider in 2012 after no charges were laid. Ms. Duncan has put in a formal complaint to the Human Rights Commission and is encouraging other survivors to do the same. When universities are failing to respond to reports of sexual assault and harassment, this is preventing equal access to education. But they did respond to your report. They immediately suspended the teacher and provided you with counselling. However, no charges were laid and the teacher was reinstated. And whilst that might be hard for you to accept, the way reality works is that when you've not been charged with a crime, you get to go on with your life. Now, of course, we don't have enough information about this case to be able to make an assessment of what really happened. But if your alleged rapist was not charged, clearly there wasn't enough evidence to proceed. But of course, that doesn't stop Eric with a Y from referring to Ms. Duncan as a survivor. Well, I'm sorry, if there was an alleged rapist who was not charged, then at best, Ms. Duncan is an alleged victim or an alleged survivor, if we must use that word. But remember, you're not allowed to question survivors. That's perpetuating rape culture. You must listen and believe. In New South Wales and Victoria, less than 20% of cases of sexual assault result in criminal proceedings being initiated. Well, that's an interesting statistic, but it's completely meaningless unless we know why. Could it be, Eric with a Y, that like the source for your previous article stated, but which you failed to mention in your article, that many of the claims were unsubstantiated? A spokesman for the University of Adelaide said as the incidents took place at a separate institution, the university was not responsible and it received no reports from other students after Ms. Duncan disclosed further harassment, limiting their ability to take further action. Interim Vice-Chancellor Mike Brooks said when he met with Ms. Duncan, he tried to make clear the university's genuine compassion. We remain committed to doing all we can to assist, he said. Ms. Duncan has referred her case to the South Australian Police through its Royal Commission branch and has taken her story public ahead of the release of the world's largest survey into sexual assault. Well, isn't that interesting timing? Who would have predicted that a story like that would have shown up in a piece of advocacy journalism as part of manufacturing an epidemic of sexual assault on campus? So what would a non-advocacy piece of journalism look like? You know, something that just presented the facts. Well, it might look something like Bettina Arndt's excellent piece in the Weekend Australian that documents the rise of the kangaroo court system on American university campuses over the last few years, leading to some very costly lawsuits for universities and likely many more to come. It might note that Hunting Ground Australia, the local organisation promoting that widely discredited advocacy film, provided $150,000 in seed funding for the Human Rights Commission survey to be released tomorrow. It also might ask the question that if sexual assault is such a problem on university campuses in Australia, as it's alleged to be, how does it compare to the wider community? According to data obtained from the New South Wales Bureau of Crime Statistics, universities are about 100 times safer than the rest of the community. A non-advocacy piece of journalism like this one would actually ask questions, provide facts, and draw evidence-based conclusions. But don't expect that from the Human Rights Commission report tomorrow. So how many more narratives of alleged survivors will we be subjected to when the report is released tomorrow? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you next time.